All right, now we have our shaped piece of cane and our tube on a mandrel. We're ready to tie a reed on with our thread here. The first thing I do when I tie a reed is I tie my string to my table, nice and tight, and I wax the thread. This is silk thread. If you use silk thread, you need to wax it with beeswax. Otherwise, it is very slippery and it can leak around the cane. The next thing I do is I take my cane, and you can see that it's all lined up right now. You know, the two sides of the piece are not diagonal to each other. I actually make them a little bit diagonal so that the bottom blade sticks out to the right and the top blade sticks off to the left just a little bit. That helps me get my overlap when I tie. Then I hold my mandrel like this so that the long part of the oval is going across on my tube. Then, and this takes some practice, but I hold it just like this so that now the long part of the oval is facing towards me. I put the cane around here, and I know with this shaper tip and this tube, I should go about that far down the tube with the end of the cane there. And I try to make it relatively centered. I don't want it to be way over here or way back here or anything like that. So, and I'm keeping that offset with my thumb and forefinger here. Put it like that. Turn, grip now with my left hand, and keep it tight. Now my mandrel is a little bit offset here, so I'm going to twist my mandrel ever so slightly to align the cane better. And we can adjust this more as we go, but just kind of adjust things there. And then I'm going to put my first few loops around the cane. So I'm not tying tight right now, putting a loop, and I usually put maybe 3 or 4 loops around at this point, and just very gently begin to pull both with my left hand here and with my right hand here so that I'm equally closing the cane from the bottom wrap and the top wrap. I'm just gonna gently close it. And once it's not totally closed right now, but I'm gonna check by twisting the mandrel, and it's actually very closed over here. Hope you can see that. Not quite closed, very closed. So that tells me that this piece of cane needs to go to my right. And I can sight down the mandrel here. It's also pointing a little bit to the left. So what I do is I push here with my finger and pull with that finger. And that will both slide the cane overall towards the right and align it a little bit better with the mandrel. And I can see, hopefully, that it's still pointing off to the left a little bit. So I'll do that again. Push here and pull with my right forefinger. And now it's actually, I've gone a little too far. The cane, this is kind of hard to show on video, but the cane is pointing a little bit to the right. So I will just push down here. That now is pointing to the left, pull, and it's this sort of back and forth wiggling that eventually helps center the piece of cane. Now, it's pretty close. The cane is closed on both sides. I'm just going to do a few last minute adjustments here. And notice I'm keeping very firm pressure pulling this way towards myself so that the cane does not slip and slide around. At this point, I've got the cane, and I'm still pulling. I've got the cane tied tight. I have my spool in my right hand, and I'm holding the entire mandrel tube cane sandwich with my right hand. This is where then you grab your ruler and measure from the bottom of the tube. This is a 47 millimeter tube. And I am right at about 45 millimeters where the top of my thread is. I know that with this thickness of thread, this is double F thread, I can put about 2 more loops, pull them relatively tightly, Measure again, and I should be just under 47. I'm right about 46 right there. And it's very hard to show on camera, you'll have to trust me. So I'm gonna put one more, which will get me right about 46 3/4. I do not want to tie over the end of my 47mm tube because that would disrupt the vibrations of the reed. And so now I'm right about 46 1/2, 46 3/4. I will do my overlap turn now. So I like to keep my thread always in the flesh of my thumb right there. So I then cross over, don't cross over this, your guide thread. Just cross over the threads you've already done and pull tight, okay? And from there, basically just wind to the bottom. Again, you're pulling tight, but not so tight as to break the thread. You don't want to break the thread. You don't want to squeeze the bottom of the reed too much, just until it seals, and that's about enough. So now I've got room for maybe 3 more turns. This is where I'll stop and tie a knot. I'll try to throw this in my right hand. I put it around my thumb, around my finger, back to the same spot on my thumb, and then slip it over like that and pull. Boom, boom, boom. I'll show that slowly again. Got the thread here, thumb, finger, thumb, creates a loop, and you pass it over. I didn't do that one quite big enough, okay? And pull. Do 3 or 4, see that's how easily this thread can break. I just pull a little too tight on that knot and it broke. But it's fine now because it's all tied. Then you clip off your guide thread and you've got a tied reed with a little bit of oopsie at the top, okay? So now we'll move on to scraping.